everyone. Welcome back to Hospitality Today Live. I'm Deborah Gardner, your host, and I am so happy that you are back for another week here on HTL. And I can tell you each week, as you know, we have some amazing guests that love to share their expertise, their experience, perspective, opinions, stories, and so much more. And today I have a very special woman, a businesswoman and friend, a longtime friend here in the hospitality industry. And I'm talking about Lori Pugh Marcum. You are not going to want to miss this episode today because Lori is now in a whole new type of position in the hospitality industry after being in it for 2 decades. And she is actually going to share with us as a events content director for Path of Purchase Institute and Retail Leaders for Ensemble. And what she's going to share is her fascinating career that she's been doing for many, many years. And she's also going to share with us what she has learned in her new role. What are the skills that she recommends that meeting and event professionals should have in their toolkit? And also what she feels is the 2022 trends and forecasts that we all need to pay attention to, and so much more. So don't go far. You're going to want to see this great conversation with Lori Pugh Marcum. Stay tuned. Back. I definitely want to say hello to everyone here on Hospitality Today Live, and it's sponsored by Video Chat Game Shows. So much fun, you'll forget you're on virtual or even in person. So anybody that knows about Video Chat Game Shows, look them up. They're really fantastic and a lot of fun. But I am so happy to say hello to Lori. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's just a thrill because, as you know, we've been very, very busy here each week with a lot of guests. And it seems like we haven't talked to each other for a while. And here we are together finally. And I'm on one side of the United States in Arizona. You're on the other side in Florida. So I think we're covering a lot of ground here. And I'm so thrilled that you are here because as the events content director at Path to Purchase Institute and the retail leader at Ensemble, we've got to know a little bit about who they are. Can you tell us a little bit?
Absolutely. So Path to Purchase Institute and Retail Leader, they are really brands, media brands that have a website presence, they have magazines, and really the Path to Purchase Institute is how we can get consumers to buy products, services, typically what we call CPG. So the craft of the world. We work with Amazon, we work with Target, we work with Nabisco, and all of our content is really around how we meet the consumer where they are along their path to purchase and provide all different types of education related to that.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting, because I know we want an inside look into your fascinating career because you've been in the hospitality industry overall 2 decades, both on the meeting professional side and the supplier professional side. So you've really got a great circumference of what is going on inside and outside on both sides, which really is excellent. And I know that as far as especially the meeting side, you've been with MPI, Meeting Professionals International, as the head of meeting innovation, manager of global and education event producer of MPI Academy, and so much more. You've worked for PRI. You've been a wedding planner. You've got your master's in meetings and events management. You do volunteerism. How do you do it all?
You have to be a certain type of person to be in this industry, right? I like to stay on the go. I find that when I'm the busiest is when I'm the happiest, although we know that that leads to burnout. However, what I love about our industry is that there's so many different facets that you can try and see if you
Yes.
like. And so that's really the journey I've been on over the last 2 decades, is dabbling and then finding the right fit for the right time in my life.
Well, you are a brilliant businesswoman, working with you personally firsthand, and I think everyone can tell with all those acronyms behind your name, the CMP, the CMM, and the CED. And I had to look up what CED was, Certified Event Designer. So that is really tells you a lot. That you really know what you're doing in this industry. And I think as an experienced hospitality professional, I know a lot of newly experienced professionals coming into the industry would love to have an opportunity to see you, to talk to you, and to know what you have to share. And can you tell us a little bit about your fascinating career and through the ranks and what you have learned along the way, or maybe even some stories that you can share with us?
Sure, absolutely. So, my bachelor's degree is in advertising, and I worked at an ad agency for about a year and a half and really focused a lot of my time in account management, but also our experiential events. And that's when I really realized, man, I like this events thing. And the real reason I think I loved it so much is that you work so hard to see something come to fruition. It's almost if done right, almost like an artwork that you're getting ready to present to the world to see. So I like that creator side. And then once I really realized I wanted to do events, I had the wonderful opportunity to work at the Chamber of Commerce and work on several different events, including international trips, which definitely got the travel bug. Did not travel a lot when I was younger. So as soon as I had the opportunity, actually got to go to China to work on an event, and I was hooked. Then after I worked at the chamber, one of the providers that we had who did all of our decor, lighting, audio visual, props, tents, tables, chairs, I thought, I want to kind of dabble on that side of things. So I worked for a wonderful production company called PRI Productions in Jacksonville, Florida. Worked for them for 3 years, had lots of different clients underneath my portfolio, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Players Championship, got to produce a couple of concerts, and I liked it, but then I became a mother, and working every single weekend was tough. I thought I'd be a wedding planner. Tell you what, I tried that out, 18 months of that, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do weddings anymore. And then actually went back into the production world. And the next thing that happened along my career path was I got a call from Matthew Marcial, who was at MPI at the time, saying that there was a position in events content. And since I had worked in a lot of different arenas, of the industry, he offered that to me, and it was really one of the best career moves that I've ever made. Being on the content side, and then eventually getting to actually teach a lot of the courses at MPI, basics boot camp, event marketing, women in leadership. That is really where I found my passion in education and really professional development. And so that is why I was able to get my CMP, CMM, CED, and then my master's in meeting and event management, was because I really wanted to be able to share any of the knowledge that I had learned within our industry. And, a lot of times people forget, they think, oh, you're an event planner, right? Everyone, cousin says, oh, you're in events. And they don't realize how much strategy is involved in it. And so I think just the education that I got to have at MPI was incredible. Was with MPI for almost 7 years. Wonderful organization. And just kind of felt like it was time to see what else was out there, and speaking into the universe, and this this events content director at Path to Purchase Institute popped up as a potential job opportunity. And what I love about working at the Path to Purchase Institute is that I am using my advertising bachelor's degree background and my master's degree in meeting and event management together. And it has been really interesting what I've learned over the past 7 months. Tips and things that companies use for people to get products that we could actually take into the events industry and make a better system and a better process and experience for our attendees.
Wow, that is a long career. And it's funny how it actually eventually comes back around to other opportunities. And that's what I love about our industry is there's always a connection that allows you to utilize what you were trained in or what you learned in or what your passion is in. And so I'm glad to see that happen. I mean, my background was broadcasting, sports broadcasting. And it wasn't until this whole pandemic hit that I was able to do a podcast really to help our industry. So it all connects just beautifully for some reason, if you just kind of go with the flow, in other words. So very, very impressive. And so what is it that other than, having your advertising and the educational side of things, what else have you learned in this new role?
Absolutely. So a lot of times we look at a consumer along their path to purchase, right? So when they learn about your product, now with COVID, e-commerce is huge, right? How can people buy things from their phone, experience it? How do they, if they see an ad online, how do you then on your TV, if you're streaming something, follow their path and be able to market to them in that way? Having them be a repeat loyalty buyer, that's a huge thing that I think we as the events industry need to look at, is how we build loyalty and how we give our attendees some sort of benefit for being loyal.
Right.
And so, branding, all of that is really what I have learned along the way. The QR code, we thought that thing was long gone, and now everybody knows how to use the QR code.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. It's I think because a lot of people probably didn't really know how to use it or the purpose of. And if you're bringing that up now, I bet that's something that we better start learning a little bit more about because of, the trends that are happening. And our industry is moving so fast. And for you to continue to educate yourself, you're like a student all the time. Learning and growing and trying to stay ahead of the game, because if you know about the QR codes, my gosh, we better start listening to you a little bit more too. So that is great to hear. That is really, really good to hear. And so the role that you have now and what you have been doing, when you bottle all that up, is there anything that you have that you would provide skills for meeting and event professionals that maybe they should have in their toolkit for now?
Absolutely. I think we all have to be much more data focused. So we may be collecting data as event professionals, but such as, everybody talks about the satisfaction scores at the end, but most of the time we aren't asking the right questions. People don't want to know, was the temperature too hot or too cold? What are we asking that is going to create a better experience, or what technology are we using to figure out how to make the experience better? Because so many times people will collect all this data, especially in registration. I'd say that is the number one underutilized data source in our entire industry, because we ask first name, last name, dietary restrictions. But what if we were able to hone in a little bit more, not making it necessarily where it has to be very manual, but say, for instance, who are some people you'd like to meet? What types of, do you prefer to be actively engaged in the session, or do you prefer smaller micro education? How can we customize and make these different experiences? And it is going to require, I think, a lot of investment, depending on if you're working for, say, association. We know funds can be short, but I do think it pays off in the long run. An example of this is when I worked at MPI, we talked a lot about the life cycle of a member, right? So let's say they're at MPI, they're in their first year, they're working towards their CMP, their first step. Or
Right.
maybe they're 20 years in the industry and they're looking to mentor. How do we use the data we have to make some automated choices of how we market to them, how we reward their loyalty, how we make them micro influencers, how do we incentivize that to them? I think sometimes we work too hard ourselves instead of letting our attendees or our speakers, our influencers work as an extension of our team and our brands.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. And overall, we need to actually create a new mindset because they're really the boss. I mean, they're the ones that determine if we have jobs or not. They're the ones that determine if the meetings and events go on or not. And from what study that I read recently, a lot of these members might, or these attendees or employees might be going to their company or organizational conferences and meetings, but they also go to other ones too. And apparently, I think actually it might have been a study from MPI said on an average, they go to about 5 conferences a year. And so whatever conference they're going to, there's a reason. And we need that data to understand more in depth of why they're going there and how you can keep them coming back at the same time. So Good observation. Data is going to be king and needs to be utilized right. I totally agree with you. And if there's anybody that wants to chime in with some questions here for Lori, by all means, utilize the chat and comment, ask questions, whatever that might be. Take advantage of Lori Pugh Marcum here with us live on Hospitality Today Live. So this is very, very exciting. So why don't we talk a little bit more about, you were talking about the QR codes and having that as kind of a new trend coming back. In other words, it hasn't gone away is what you said, which I thought was brilliant. Are there any other things that you see out there trend wise? Do you see a forecast that we should be paying attention to? Anything out there like that?
So definitely the attendees are going to want to be back in events, right? You know, we're starting to see COVID dissipate, people ready to be traveling, especially travel bans throughout the year in terms of companies, travel policy changing. So I think you're going to see more and more attendees at your events, but they also have been educating themselves virtually over the past almost close to 2 years, I say 18 months. And so you're going to want to put a focus on networking, seeing how you can even start to create what I would call micro events. So a smaller group of people, especially if your company's just trying to dip their toe in of when to bring their full, say, conference back in. So expect there to be more networking. The QR codes actually is a way you can do some surprise and delight. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you have little signs at your conference where people scan something, there's a special offer. Maybe there's more information or how to download a particular document for a session. You can use it to learn more about a sponsor. The number one most thing that you have to, I think, realize as you're designing, because that's what you are, you're a strategist and a designer as an event professional, is to figure out how you're going to entertain and surprise and delight people more than they have been in the past, because it's not just about the content. The content is important, but they want to have a good time. They want to network. They also want to see where their company, let's say, for instance, you work for an association or you work for, you do an events for a company. People are really focused right now on where their industry is going to be 3 to 5 years right now, probably more so than ever in the past, because we realize there's so many things going on in the world that rapidly change everyone's industry. An example of that, just think about how quickly retailers were able to, I hate using this word, pivot, to picking up their order or ordering things online and having it shipped to their house. And it's brilliant to be able to just say, add to cart everything you had before. So a great example of how those retailers and those brands made a change. I feel like the events world is going to have to utilize technology and think quickly, just like those retailers and CPG companies did.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because in the meetings and events industry, we have been like at arm length with technology for so long, and now we can see where it actually can benefit us more and more. So that's a very, very, very good point. And I love the fact that you're saying that people want to know what the company's planning on doing. And I think, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe that has a lot to do with the great resignation going on right now. People are not as loyal to companies and organizations as they used to be. So now it puts these companies, organizations on, in a accountability position where they need to let people know what is happening so that they can get excited about staying, with new things coming out, or what's going to benefit them in the end, because it's kind of flipped where they have to keep everybody's attention to stay on board.
Yeah, I mean, transparency has to be top of the list.
Yeah.
I remember 10 years ago, we would always want to discourage our attendees from taking their phone out because we wanted them to pay attention. Well, now in adult learning and everybody being on their phone, we've got to figure out how we're going to integrate that into a session, whether it's, I'm giving an example, even beyond just voting or polling during a session, but how can they add to the conversation? How can they help solve problems? I think you're going to have fewer, I would say, standoffish attendees. You're going to have attendees who are going to want to contribute to whatever the content is, and however you can design that best while you're thinking of your sessions. I mean, nobody wants to be talked at for 90 minutes anymore. That whole world is going to change. And I'd venture to say we're going to see shorter sessions, like 30, 45-minute sessions. Not saying that there isn't a place for deep dives, but your deep dive, longer sessions are going to have classwork or reflection every 10 minutes or group work. I mean, it's going to have to be